the moment we've all been waiting for, the finals. It has been a very, very long morning, so I'm sure that those of you that are not the finalists are actually quite happy to be done with this and have a rest. Yeah. Yeah, mixed feelings, but like 50% happy and 50% maybe not so much, but I can definitely understand that. So, well done. Congratulations to everybody, to all the participants in the semifinals. If there is one thing that all the adjudicators have mentioned from all the 10 panels was that all the participants were excellent. Much better than last year, actually, not last time, but last year. And they had a very difficult job in just choosing one person that moves on to the finals. So do know that you have made it very hard for them to choose the one person that moves on to the finals. But it is a competition, so somebody had to be chosen. And unfortunately, we can only send one participant to London in the international finals. So what can we do about it? But just do our jobs. So once again, well done to everybody. Many thanks to the adjudicators for doing a great job. Most of the people adjudicated today are actually not from Bucharest. They have come from quite far away. Yeah, so we have from all corners of the country. We have teachers, we have former alumni of the competition, which I really appreciate everybody's help and support in doing this. So many thanks for that. And now we're happy to move on with the finals. And well, there should be a presentation. That's okay. Okay. Right. So. Okay. Well. Everybody's very much familiar with the topic because you've been delivering the speech about this today. You've also been delivering the speech about this in your school heat, in the county heat, in the regional heat. So we know what we are, but not what we may be, which has been a very interesting topic. Much different than I think some of the topics we've had in the previous years. And we're definitely very curious to see what happens now. I personally haven't heard any of the speeches in the semifinals. I've only heard speeches in our regional heat. So I'm definitely very curious to see the 10 speeches today, especially after the great reviews that we've had from the semifinals. Before we start, I would like to thank everybody involved once again, and also the sponsors that we have for the finals. So we have some vouchers from E-Center for Cambridge exams. We also have some books from Fisher, and we also have somebody from Fisher that's going to say a few words. Sorin Popescu. Yes, but funnily enough, I found out when Sorin told us that he's coming today to be an adjudicator that not so long ago he was actually a participant in the ESU competitions. So this is definitely a very nice full circle story. Definitely made my heart warm when you wrote that email and you told me that you came in the semifinals about 10, 11 years ago. So Sorin, if you want to say a few words of encouragement.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of people's time because I know there's been a roller coaster of emotions today and people are looking forward to the finals. But I just wanted to say our thank you on behalf of Fisher International and National Geographic Learning, who I'm happy to be representing today. It was such a fantastic day, and congratulations to Ella and congratulations to Mr. Jesco as well for the fantastic organization. Daniela sends her regards, by the way. She can't wait to see you again. Once again, congratulations to everybody. It was a Saturday where I didn't expect I'd have to make such tough decisions. So congratulations to everybody. Good luck in the final round, and yeah, I can't wait to hear the second part of this. We'll see you at the end, I think, right? For the awards. Yeah. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you. we also have some very exciting prizes from Mironet, who have been with us for several years now, supporting the public speaking competition. And we have the lovely Alexandra here from Mironet, who's going to say a few words. Thank you for joining us today, Alexandra.
Hi everyone. Aș vrea să te tensionez puțin așa situația. Știu că toți copiii au emoții și abia așteaptă să ajungă la partea finală. De asta vă și vorbesc în română, ca să vă simțiți așa un pic mai confortabil. Mulțumim pentru invitație de a fi din nou alături de voi, de concurs. Felicitări tuturor, felicitări finaliștilor și semifinaliștilor. Știm că nu este ușor, mai ales să vorbiți în public și să fiți așa voi înșiși. Vă urăm succes, vă așteptăm alături de noi, sperăm să vă continuați călătoria și într-o tabără internațională. Aveți vouchere cadou pentru finaliști și ne gândim așa să le oferim și semifinaliștilor niște vouchere. Așteptăm o listă și încurajăm să fie alături de noi. Mulțumiri Cătălinei, cu care colaborăm de ani de zile, este așa parte din familia noastră. Mulțumim ICHB și succes, copii!
Alexandra. We also have another wonderful prize from Fly High Camps in Craiova, which is a 2-week summer camp in the UK, but for one of the 10 finalists, so that's not for the winner, yeah, but it's for one of the finalists, okay? Fly High is also our newest partner at the ESU. We're working alongside to organize the competition in Craiova, but not only, but in the region of Oltenia, as at the moment, that's the only part of the country actually where the competition is not being organized. So starting with the new academic year in September, we're also going to be organizing the public speaking competition there. So thank you very much to Fly High. And we also have as an adjudicator today, the wonderful Ms. Claudia Cochina, who is going to tell us a few words about herself and about Fly High. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I haven't prepared anything. Your speeches are wonderful, but I just, in times when I think the biggest certainty is future uncertainty, to be part of this event brings me much joy and hope. It's so wonderful to see young people practicing one of the most valuable 21st century skill, right? To be persuasive, to have logic in your point of view. I think that's amazing. And I think I'm so proud to see so many collaborators bring this event to life, like this high school. And I want to congratulate the English-speaking union for investing in the young people of this country. I think an event like this really makes this country beautiful, not only here, but also internationally. And we look forward to the final in London in May. I wanted to say just one last thing. I know there will be one finalist, but I want you all to think of winners. I know it sounds like a cliche, but I do believe that what we or you may become depends on what you do every day. And today, you're all craftsmen of the words and lifting someone up, motivating your friends, inspiring someone around you. That will make you winners every day of the year, not just one day in a year. So congratulations to all of you. Don't forget that you become who you are by making a difference every day and making the best you can every day. So fly high, fly high. I was telling some of you that I came up with this motto, learning should be a joyful life experience, about 15 years ago, and I started Fly High as a language center in Craiova. I'm an English teacher, so I wanted to impact the lives of the children in my region. And then we expanded everywhere in the world. So we travel with students. I'm just back from Australia. So do dream as far as you can, because this is possible. So thank you all for all the effort of getting all the way to here, and thank you the organizers. Ella, you're doing a magnificent job. Okay. Good luck to all of you.
And we also have supporting the public speaking competition and the ESU in general, better speakers. And we have some wonderful vouchers that you can use either for public speaking or debate classes. And I think, if you hurry, you might still find a spot for the debate classes that are starting now in spring. So make sure that you use this. And the heart and soul behind Better Speakers, also here with us adjudicating the competition, is the wonderful Mr. Emil.
Thank you very much, Ella, and congrats to you and Catalina for putting together again this amazing competition. There are still some of the semi-finalists here left. Congrats to you, because you're here to see and to learn what happens in the final. Let's do a little show of hands. Who loves to speak in public? Yeah, that's great. Who loves to stand up for their point of view? Who loves to argue with their friends? Who believes the spoken word can change the world? Yeah. So do we. So do we as better speakers. And this is why we founded the project. We are now 12 former debate and public speaking champions who strongly believe that the spoken word can change a life. Debate and public speaking has changed our lives, and it can certainly, and most of all today, change the world. And we want to do that. Our aim is to improve the lives of 1 million students by teaching them debate and public speaking. We've done that successfully so far, and we believe we have a stellar team of trainers to do just that. Some of our trainers have been in finals in debate competition in Oxford, in Cambridge. Now we have 2 trainers that are coaches to the national debate teams of Romania and Italy. We work with 2 of the former winners of this particular debate, public speaking competition. So Beatrice, the winner in 2023, she's a trainer with us. Elena, the year before, she's a trainer with us. And we work to do debate and public speaking training and coaching that supplements the amazing work that your teachers already do with some of you. As a wise friend of mine said, you know what you are, but you don't know who you may be, right? So from where I'm standing, you guys are semi-finalists and finalists of this competition. So you know who and what you are. You don't know what you may be, but if you want to find out, if you have what it takes to be a better speaker or an amazing champions, look us up. We may be able to give you a hand. Thank you very much, and best of luck.
Thank you very much, Emil. And last but not least, we have another third adjudicator with us today in the finals. Somebody who's been helping us with the finals of the public speaking competition for about 12 years, I would say now, more or less. Somebody who's been very supportive of the competition. Also somebody who has I think, at least with part of the competition, is still the only reason it's going on. Because in some dark moments when, I was about to just give up the younger age group, it's like, no, I think we should keep it. No, it's good. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome the wonderful Mr. Kendall Peak from IBSD.
Thank you, Ella. I don't want to take up too much of your time, because I think what we're here to do today is to listen to the finalists. I'm impressed that there were so many students in the semi-final. I'm used to a semi-final having 10, 20, 30 in most competitions. So when I asked Ella how many were in the semi-final this morning, she told me 186. To me, that seems like the start of a competition, not the semi-final. So all I can say is those students who made it through semi-final, I'm sure you did something very special to be there. And somehow they whittled it down from 186 to 10. And I think from the judges' point of view, that must have been an incredibly difficult task. I'm sure that 20, 30, 40 of you actually deserve to be here in the final. So the difference between those of you who made the final and those of you who didn't, I think was absolutely incremental. So don't feel bad if you're not here. I'm pretty sure you deserve to be here, but in the end they had to choose 10, which means that Claudia and Emil and I have a very difficult task choosing one from those 10. So I wish you the very best of luck. I'm very excited to listen to these speeches. And for those of you who are going to return next year, I hope to be here to listen to a few new faces delivering their speeches. Because one of the most important things in life, it's not necessarily to win. I don't say to my students to win is important. I think you hear it a lot in sport these days. All you need to do to be successful in life is to be better today than you were yesterday. And if you're doing that throughout your entire life, that journey is going to be incredible. And where it takes you is everywhere you could ever dream to go. So without further ado, I hand the floor back to Ella. Thank you so much. And we look forward to celebrating the finalists after the final.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to invite the finalists now to start their speeches. I'm actually going to invite the first two. We're going to have some wireless mics that we're going to be using. That way you have complete freedom of movement, but that way everybody can hear you. And you can be up on stage. I just decided to be down here as not to go up and down the stage, the stairs every time somebody was talking, and make it easier for our guests, but you are definitely invited up on stage. So our first speaker is going to be Maria Ilinca Oprea, and the title of her speech is The Ship and the Unknown. And I'm also going to invite Iulia Pascuta to get ready for her wireless mic. But she's going to deliver her speech afterwards, yeah? So for now, we're just going to start with Maria.
I was 13 when I discovered a theory called the Ship of Theseus. The mythical king of Athens rescues the children of Athens from King Minos and escapes with them on a ship. Every year after this event, the Athenians would sail Theseus' ship to Delos to honor the god Apollo. It was in these moments that philosophers raised the question. After hundreds of years of caring for this ship, after replacing each and every single one of the woodboard in order to preserve it, was it still the same ship that Theseus sailed all those years ago? This made me think. Could it also apply to us as people? If everything has changed so much until now, including myself, will it change even more in the future? I was 13 when I started fearing time. What do you mean I'll probably be an entirely different person in 5 years? I don't want to grow up. There's so much I don't know. I don't want to change. I like myself as I am. I don't want to turn into a stranger. I will turn into a stranger. I will turn into a stranger? My naive mind thought that all of these changes would come barging in all at the same time. So I started carrying reminders with me everywhere I went. Reminders of who I was, what I liked, reminders of my friends, my family at a time I spent with them, lest I should forget. Of course, it seems very silly, and my judgment regarding that theory really wasn't very bright. But I was a child, and I really didn't want to turn into a stranger. People fear the unknown, or what the passage of time could bring. I used to feel it too, that is, before I got used to it. I embraced it. I learned to perceive it as an opportunity for excitement. How did I do that? Well, the answer is, I have absolutely no idea. What I do know, though, is that it didn't happen overnight. I struggled with it. A lot. However, there was one thing that I heard that I believe shifted my perspective and got me on the right path. Of course it's going to hurt. Of course you're going to feel scared and confused. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. Now, I have some bad news and some good news. The bad news is you don't know what that new life means. The good news is you don't know what that new life means. Oscar Wilde once said, if you want to be a general or a politician or a judge, you will invariably become it. That is your punishment. If you never know who you are, if each day you are unsure of what you are and what you know, you will never become anything. And that is your reward. Just think about it. Your mind, your entire being is constantly changing, so why confine yourself to one single outcome? There are so many doors around you, why only focus on a single one? There is limitation to knowing exactly what you want to be, what you want to do. And with limitation come a lack of excitement and a whole bunch of what could have beens. If you leave your future up to itself, you will certainly find yourself on new thrilling paths which some time ago you weren't even aware could exist. And yes, you should prepare for your job interview or lay out a plan for an upcoming meeting. Even the future needs a little nudge from time to time. Forceful or gentle. Still, what I'm trying to say is that you should stop worrying about the things you cannot control. You should think of this big bad unknown as an opportunity to open your eyes, open your mind, try other doors, an opportunity for other opportunities to show themselves and to be considered. Now, rewind to December 16th, 1989. Let me take you to the city of Timișoara, where angered civilians went out into the streets to protest against the communist dictatorship that had been in power in Romania for 42 years. Their actions were met with aggression. The army was ordered to fire on the protesters. So they did. Still, the demonstration soon spread to the capital city, Bucuresti, and to other major cities in Romania. On December 22nd, the army turned over to the people's side. It was game over. The dictatorship fell in a week. Many were injured. Many did not return to their families. Still, they kept on fighting for justice, for freedom, and they won. Do you think that the first protesters knew what the outcome would be? Do you think that they knew their actions could lead to their whole country rising up and finally putting an end to the fear they had been living in for so many years? No, they probably didn't. They only had a glimmer of hope and a wish for a better life, for a better country. They knew what they were, but not what they would become. Heroes. Thank you. Yeah, please. Oh. Sorry?
Have you opened your eyes yet?
Well, thank you for the question, first of all. I would personally like to believe that I have, but I know that you cannot always have them fully open. And the biggest step that you can take is to try to open them at least a little bit, to see the things around you, to see the opportunities that you can take advantage of, and to see overall the wonderful world that you have around you. So yes, I think I have, but not entirely. Yeah.
How can we learn to prioritize while being limitless and boundless in our assumptions about ourselves?
Right, thank you for that question. That's really interesting. Well, I think that prioritizing is really about a path that you have set out for yourself. And that, in my opinion, doesn't have a very fixed path. It can be a very general one that you can try to work towards, but keep your eyes open to other things around you. So I personally believe that you should prioritize the things that are of great importance to you, or the things that you think could get you to your desired outcome. But you shouldn't always just focus on the one thing that you have planned. You should also try to take into consideration other things that come up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we have Pascuta and Iulia on the stage, and please, Andreea, to come here to prepare your message.
1, 2, 1, 2. Is it on? Okay. When shall I begin? You know who you are, right? You know your name, your age, your gender, your nationality, your ethnicity. You know your identity. You know who you are, and you live your life as that person. But have you wondered what lies beneath that shell of yourself? The one you're willing to put out there and perform as? Well, the answer may seem like a complex one, just like the question, but just think about it. It's a word you hear all day, every day. Heck, I myself am tired of hearing this word. From my teachers, my parents, even some of my peers. Do you have anything in mind? Well, I shouldn't drag this out. My answer is potential. You've surely been in the same spot as me at one point. You can't go a day in your life without someone around you saying that you're wasting your potential, or that you should live life to its fullest potential, or even that you have great potential, but you don't know what to do with it. Okay, well, what can I even do about that? I often think to myself. Because their advice ends at, live your life to the fullest. It feels like a dead end sometimes, if not most of the time. Well, the truth is, you have to take matters into your own hands. It's nobody else's business but yours to juice every opportunity dry. Only you know in which ways you wish to improve as a person. Only you can do something about that. Only you can better yourself. Great, that's quite a cheesy, motivating thing to hear. Now, how do you actually go about doing that? Well, firstly, I think you need a motive. Why do something if you don't have a purpose? But purpose isn't a constant, it's something ever-changing. As you grow and change as a person, so do your motives. So, whether you're starting a journey in art, self-discovery, academics, sports, whatever else might interest you, try to set a purpose, no matter how small. It will naturally grow into something larger along the way. So, if you don't have a grandiose idea of what you wish to achieve from the very beginning, don't fret. Okay, now that we've settled that, what else is there to do? This is the hardest yet the most crucial part. And it sounds boring, I know, but there's nothing left to do but to get working. Make a general plan of what you wish to achieve, then get out there and do whatever it takes to reach your goals. But you should go and read, write, train, do whatever, but don't expect to succeed if you're unwilling to take risks. The comfort zone you're living in is exactly what's holding you back from what you may be, from your true potential. You'll only stagnate and feel unfulfilled. There's a quote from Isaac Asimov's Foundation that I think correlates quite well with the point I'm trying to make. And that is, to succeed, planning alone is insufficient. One must improvise as well. So, step out of your comfort zone, say yes, and keep your head up and keep working. once you make your first few achievements, there's nothing left to do from there on but to keep improving. Keep your head up. Now, let's recap and wrap things up, shall we? My idea of what we may be lies in the malleable uncertainty of our potential. We don't know with exact accuracy what we'll end up becoming, but we can make small tweaks and changes throughout our lives to ensure that we'll be the best possible versions of ourselves, even though that ideal variant may shift in time. And after this speech, I hope some of you will share even a fragment of my idea. Thank you.
How can we find who we are in a world teeming with high achievers or people who may have the same dreams or aspirations as we do?
Thank you for your question. That's a great question. I think that finding ourselves is a process that happens within our own selves. You can't really compare yourself to others while finding your own self. You have to focus on your needs, on your own personality. You can't, if, for example, you want to achieve something great in a domain in which you see others succeed as well. Don't take that as a factor to demotivate you. Look at that as sort of a factor of motivation.
Can you please give us an example of something you set your mind to do, and then you worked and you achieved, even if not a spectacular success? Yeah, because you talked about this path in your speech. Yeah, so just something simple. You set your eye on, and then you did some work and got some results.
Thank you.
Your personal experience.
This particular thing happened last year. I was in the 9th grade, and my grades were kind of going down because I got into a really prestigious high school and all the teachers just massacred my grades. And I really wanted a scholarship. I want that money. I want money. I'm sorry, I'm a really egotistical person. I want money. And so I realized that I couldn't get the minimum grade that's necessary to get a scholarship. And so I thought, why not enter some competitions to get a prize and then get a scholarship based on that? And so I set my mind to get at least 3rd prize in the English Olympiad, the county heat, yeah? And I did just that. I got 3rd place, exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
From a different person? Yeah? Okay.
Can I just ask the question?
So how do we know the exact moment when we ought to move to another goal? Let's say that the system is fallible and we need to move on to a different system. When do we need to do that? Or how exactly should we change our perspective or our goals if things don't work out in the end?
Thank you. I think that once you start to see that your hard work in a certain subject domain, whatever, isn't giving you any satisfaction or any proper results, and you exhaust yourself, and though you don't get any results, I think it's time to put that to rest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to invite...
Ready for impact? Brace yourselves. Already sat down, I see. Let me tell you a story. My story. One day we got a homework assignment to write an essay on the topic, who am I? Now, Romanian has always been my strong suit, but faced with one opening line, my paper remains just as white as in the beginning. To be or not to be, Shakespeare said, that is the question, he said. To be who? To not be who? Who am I supposed to be? For the first time ever, I came with no homework to turn in. When asked to read it, I said in a flimsy voice that I don't know who I am. As such, it wouldn't be authentic. It went silent. I will forever remember the stares and my teacher's words. How do you not know who you are? You are that you are, just as God said in the Bible, I am that I am. It's as simple as that. And with that, I was given one more day to complete my task. When asked to read it again, I came with only one sentence. I am what I was, and what I will never be again. Safe to say she wasn't impressed by my philosophy. The road home that day was the longest journey of my life, filled to the brim with questions. The truth in itself was that I don't know who I am. I already went on this journey of self-discovery once and got hurt. Who's to say it won't happen again? I was the nice girl from school, the aspiring singer, the filial daughter, or maybe just a big, walking question mark. Nothing fancied me as the right answer. I actually got lost that day, the road home, which I knew so well. One moment of not paying attention and I was left stranded. So, all alone, lost, and with millions of questions buzzing in my mind. You see, I always wanted to let go of my sadness, but never quite did it, since without it, what remained left of me? It was what fueled my creativity, and my creativity fueled my music. But it just so happened that that day, out of thin air, my creativity, my sadness was nowhere to be seen. So then, all alone, lost, and to top it all off, my creativity was locked in a jar with a lid on top. A jar so clear that I could see through it but never tried opening it, since I can't open jars. They are hard to open. I finally got home that day. I went straight into my room and looked in my mirror. This is who I was, right? Even if I didn't like it. Fernando Pessoa wrote in the book of Disquiet that humans were never supposed to see their own face, that it was unsettling. Nature graced us with not being able to stare into our own eyes. Bodies of water were the only place in which man could look at himself, and the very posture he had to assume was symbolic. Stoop down, bend over, and commit the ignominy of beholding yourself. So I'm not this one either. Great, thank you, Mr. Pessoa. You see, in early texts of Buddhism, it is mentioned that such questions just lead to stress and anxiety, and that we should ignore them. But I felt as though it was time to look inward and begin asking those questions. There comes a moment in all of our lives in which we begin asking questions. My solution to this, I went and asked people around me who I was. And I noticed, as Luigi Pirandello stated in One No One 100,000, that there were multiple versions of myself living through people's minds. Some knew me as the singer, others as Epasker, that quiet kid or noisy junior, the girl who could go on for hours talking about Egyptology or David Bowie. My mother, my sister, my father, all view me differently. Even people on the street make up their own version of yourself as you pass by. But the answer I was searching for existed only for me in my mind. You see, my idea of someone wasn't really someone at all, just a bunch of parts that glued together hopefully make up something. So then, am I everything and yet nothing at the same time, Mr. Pirandello? No, that doesn't sound right, that doesn't feel right. I'm a multitude of tries. I try to be nice. I try to study. I try to learn more about stuff I'm interested in. I try to be me. Multiple faces that change depending on the context. And that doesn't make me weird. It doesn't make me fake. It doesn't make me any less of a human. It makes me. So yes, Mr. Shakespeare, I finally know who I am. I've just started out, so of course I can talk about the future, but isn't that what the future is supposed to be about? We can't just spoil it now, can we? Thank you. I am Andreea.
So, do we have any questions from the audience? Someone else, please. No one else? Oh, there. Băieții, what's the path that you want to take from now on?
From now on, I want to be someone who is courageous, who is brave, someone who could go through anything that life throws at her, someone that you could depend on, and someone who has fulfilled her dream. You see, I dream of becoming a singer, and it's a world in which no matter how talented you are or how hard you've worked, if you don't have luck, if you don't have that moment in which someone hears you and you start getting noticed, nothing could ever work out. In the future, I want to be someone who I can look back on and say that I was proud that I did that. I was proud of who I was. I am proud of who I am today, and I will be proud of who I will be tomorrow. I'm still a work in progress. I'm still working with myself, loving myself and overcoming all of my traumas. And so in the future, I want to be someone healthy.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. Oh,
Second question. No, there.
Hi.
hello.
Can you tell us if there is, let me rephrase this. What part of you significant others like or rewards, maybe parents, maybe teachers, well, you don't that much, you don't like it that much. Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah.
So in your speech you said, yeah, everybody sees a different part of
Yeah.
who we are, in your particular case. Yeah, so maybe your parents see something, teachers see something, colleagues see something, yeah? Think of somebody who is significant in your life, parents, teachers, friends. There's some part that they like, and you maybe not that much.
Yeah, actually, there are multiple parts of myself that I don't like, and they are viewed by different people. My teacher usually see me as someone who's really hardworking, and it tickles my guilt, if I could say it like that, because I am someone who works hard in certain areas, but at the same time, I'm someone who just picks it up in the middle of the class and then just remembers it. And so whenever I'm being praised for having worked so hard for something, I feel so guilty because I know that there are people who have worked way harder than I did, and people who would maybe be more deserving of that compliment as I am. But this is, everybody has a part of themselves that they don't like, either features talking or personality. But something that really resonates is how my mother sees me. And it's a touchy subject because my mother sees me as someone who is really strong because she raised me to be strong. But what she did not take into consideration was the fact that she raised someone who would appear strong on the outside, but inside was crumbling. I am crumbling as we speak, but because of my teachings, I'm standing here strong. That's the part that I hate the most about myself, because I am not able to become that person whom my mother sees, that really strong person who could go on through anything that life throws at her in any existing moment, and someone whom she knows that will succeed in life, and so she will not have to worry about me when she's no longer here. But I'm not that person, and it's gut-wrenching. Thank you.
A log, a simple piece of wood. But what if I told you it could change a life? Your life, and even our future. Today, I won't just reveal the meaning of L.O.G, but also how it shapes what we may become. Let's go back to the harsh winter of the year 1947, a year of famine and extreme poverty. Victor, a boy about my age, was working in the woods to provide for his family. Imagine the cold and exhaustion.
But Victor is smiling. If I work hard, I will get a patch of land to farm. My life will be settled. I know who I am and who I will become. Suddenly, a roaring sound. A log. A hit. Pain, blood, dirt, and a life sentence, amputation. Victor's whole life shattered. He knew what he was. He was now a liability. What he didn't yet know was where that might take him. So he decided to make something of his life by becoming an apprentice. Impressed by Victor's dedication, his master helped him study engineering. Victor moved to the city and became a well-known inventor. But what's more, he discovered the true significance of the log, his L.O.G. Log, opportunity, growth. A log is an opportunity to grow. He not only managed to transform a negative into a positive for himself, but he also passed this transformation to his descendants until it reached me. Yes, Victor was my great-grandfather, and if you think about it, one of the reasons I'm here is his accident. Last year, at the same age as Victor, I faced a moment when life sent me a log, a diagnosis that tested my strength and resilience. And like him, I chose to rise. You know, that was my L.O.G. moment, when I realized that a log is an opportunity to grow. I look back and I know who I am. I look ahead and I don't yet know who I may be, but I can always strive towards becoming someone I can be proud of. Now, look at yourselves and raise your hand if you've ever achieved something you're proud of. If you think about it, behind that achievement lies a struggle. Although some might argue differently, it's not just about Victor or me or you. And psychology confirms it. Maslow's theory of growth motivation and Seligman's resilience model demonstrate that humans evolve by turning logs into ladders. But can hardship ever be too great? Of course. Just look at Giordano Bruno, Anne Frank, or Martin Luther King, who were killed for what they believed in. Yet their log became an opportunity for us to grow. Let's turn to the present. The humans are minding their daily lives. Some of them even listening to a public speaking contest. We all hear the roaring sound of a log, the log of great adversities, migration, war, climate change. But wait, isn't this just wishful thinking? Haven't we already been hit? Pain, blood, dirt. 20 people are facing the pain of being forcibly displaced. 2 people are bleeding after just becoming casualties in a war. And a forest the size of 20 football fields has just vanished into dirt. All of these happening every single minute of my speech. That's the reality we face today, as confirmed by the United Nations, Red Cross, and Global Forest Watch. Now, as humans, we stand at a crossroads. We look ahead and we don't yet know what we may be. What we do know, however, is what we are. We look back and see countless generations of humans who have turned adversity into strength. This time, it is our turn to prove once more that a log is an opportunity to grow. Thank you.
Are there any circumstances in which this log that you've talked about, the foundation of growing, is actually being hindered by our own hands? It's not someone else imposing their own dangers or hazards upon us, but it's actually us who stops us from growing.
That's definitely a very interesting question and very interesting point of view. Thank you for that. In my opinion, the logs that we impose on ourselves tend to be the strongest logs that there are. Because when you get hit by something that you created yourself, that's when you realize how bad your life before was. That's when you actually create a bigger change than you would create if somebody else told you that, well, what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing is wrong. But if you realize on your own skin that what you were doing was wrong, that's when you change the most. Thank you.
So life has a tendency to throw more than one log at you. So once you've picked a domain in which to be or a field, after how many logs do you feel like you regret your choice?
Could you say that again? I didn't hear the middle part, please.
Right. So I said life has a tendency to throw more than one log at you across your lifespan.
Yeah.
After you've picked a field to work in, or a job, or a future for yourself, after how many logs along the way do you feel the regret that you might have picked the wrong path?
Very interesting question again. Thank you. So let me think. Well, I don't think it's about the number of logs. I don't think it's about logs in general. It's just about what you feel that is right for you. So, for example, let's say I choose to be a doctor, but after studying and studying, I realize that, well, maybe I don't really like studying about this anymore. Maybe this isn't actually my calling. So that is when I think you should realize and choose to stop doing that. But when it comes to logs, I don't think there is a finite number of logs that can hit you. And the most important thing about when you get hit by a log is your mindset. So if after you get hit by a log, you choose to just see the negative in that log, you choose to see it as a downfall, then the battle is already lost. But if you keep fighting, if you keep trying to find the positive in that log, well, yeah, maybe you're not going to win the whole war. But in the end, at least you kept fighting. Thank you.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Beforehand, I want to thank you all for welcoming me with open arms. And I got to thank Mr. CEO of Better Speakers and as well the principal of the British School for saying best of luck to everybody. But I think that luck isn't really the primary thing here, but confidence and determination. And some of you might already know my name. I am Surcică Denis Gabriel. And I think that the sole purpose of why I'm here is to talk about Shakespeare, right? Great. I invite you all to dive into the depths of Shakespeare with me. Yeah, I'm not saying that ever again in my life. But you know, let me tell you a funny story. And it's pretty much a secret, so don't tell anyone. I'm actually friends with Shakespeare. No, really. And my dad is too. Well, kind of. They're trying to be friends. I think that around 1 week ago, both of them went out for a drink, maybe play some golf. Well, what adults do, I have no idea, I'm a teenager. And out of nowhere, Shakespeare tells my dad about how we know what we are, but not what we may be. Of course, Dad comes home the next day and tells me about this so-called situation. I just gotta ask him, Dad, what if there's a hidden meaning behind this? What if the old man actually tries to tell you to do something in your life for once, huh? Awkward silence for a couple of seconds. He just got up, changed his clothes, and went straight to work without saying a single word. So, for the next few days, this became my primary objective, to decipher what the old man had to say. Before I start, I want to split the quote into 2 other sentences. We know what we are and what we may be. The but not part will come eventually. First off, the boring part. We know what we are. Well, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory what it means. It talks about the present, obviously. You can be the sporty one, the artsy one, or even the lame guy who sits on his bed all day procrastinating. But here's the thing. Who you are now doesn't define your future forever. I know a lot of teenagers. young adults or even guys in their early 30s who still haven't figured out what to do in their lives. But if you ask me, if you're 30 years old and still haven't, you're kind of miserable. But putting these life lessons aside and actually moving on to the cool part, which I like, we know what we are, what we may be. Yeah, I knew that. Well, this is not so self-explanatory in common sense. It holds more value, it has many more opportunities because, like, you could be a doctor, you could be a chef, an entrepreneur, a mathematician, or even something that humanity didn't even think of until today. Think of it, have some thoughts. Look at the successful people today. Do you think that they've had it all figured out in high school? No. Well, they kept an open mind, worked very hard, and just ran through this unknown with a brilliant smile on their face. And of course, you're all gonna relate to this, but getting out of your comfort zone isn't one of the easiest steps. Because there comes this question that everybody asked at least once in their lifetime. What if I fail? Well, I gotta be honest, failure sure is something bad in everybody's eyes, but at the same time, failure teaches you how to get closer to the one who you want to be. So, as I'm reaching the end of my speech, I want to ask you guys, what did Shakespeare want to tell us? I'm going to speak first and you're going to ask me questions later. So, what did Shakespeare tell me? He told me that I need to have determination. I need to be determined to achieve success. I need to be determined to reach my destination. And I've seen a lot of you guys, especially the finalists. You all use logic, you all use scientific facts. Well, I don't really like that. I'm pretty much of a casual guy. I don't really like to speak fancy English. I like to speak street English because that's my hobby. But yeah, I love you all, and I think you should all deserve a great night. Thank you. I'm open to as many questions as there is.
Could you please summarize the main idea of your speech in one sentence?
As I mentioned earlier, you need to be determined, because without determination and willpower, you cannot achieve anything in life. Come on, don't be shy.
No one?
Really?
Okay, so you've talked about becoming, right? What kind of teenagers, future adults, does our world need?
Well, creative ones, for sure. I see a lot of teenagers getting pressured by their parents to become something they don't really want to. I myself, I have to speak for myself, actually, because my parents, they're pretty much forcing me to be I live with my uncles. My uncles force me to be a doctor. My mom forces me to be a lawyer, and I don't really want that. I want to work with people. I want to be an actor. I want to work on movies. I want to be proud of this. I want to be proud of myself, you know?
Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody.
Where would you go if you had a time machine? Now, this isn't a rhetorical question. I actually need your help with this. Raise of hands those of you who would go into the past. Thank you. Now, raise of hands those of you who would go into the future. You can put down your hands now, thank you. Notice how few of you would willingly choose to stay in the present moment. This is because the human condition is defined by projection. Now, what do I mean by this? We don't simply experience the world in the present moment. We may not have a time machine at our disposal, but we still use our minds to project ourselves into the earlier parts of our lives and into the future. When we project ourselves into the past, we are inevitably confronted by guilt, which I may be so bold as in saying is the harsh reality that we are not what we could have been. Now, this speech isn't about the past, it's about the future. But first, I do want you to think back, if you could, to a time when much was still unfamiliar, when we were not really yet expected to know many things, when we were children. As a child, the question we so often repeated was, why? This is curiosity, but it's also the hunger for knowledge that never quite seems to get tamed. Why do we dream? Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to do my homework, Mom? Why is the food an airplane, and why does that suddenly make me want to eat it so badly? As grown-ups, this quest to know doesn't stop, but our attitude towards it definitely changes. Curiosity, which was once so plentiful, is usually transformed into a mix of worry and guilt. I am worried because I don't know what's going on. All I know is a speck in the grand scheme of things. I will never, ever know enough. The delusion then comes from the need to lie to myself, that I have everything together. When we look at the other side of the example that I provided earlier, the onus is on the adult to explain to a child the rules of the universe. But is such a thing even possible when the adult himself is uncertain? So he must lie and pretend he knows what will be. This is how we end up seeking certainty in an uncertain world. I know that what I've said so far might seem a bit abstract, so I'll provide a few concrete examples to illustrate this need for certainty and how it affects us. Well, on an individual scale, the constant barrage of things that we cannot control, like the actions of the people around us, can cause us unneeded stress. Certainty also leads to a lack of risk-taking, because a risk that you are certain about is an oxymoron. It does not exist. How can we change as people if we never confront the risk of failure? Growth in such a scenario is impossible. We end up playing a zero-sum game. Now I know what you're thinking. What the hell do I know? Who am I to sit up here and dictate to you the way things are or should be? Let's instead look at what some of the greatest minds in history had to say. This problem of uncertainty has been explored in philosophy for a few thousand years. Back in ancient Greece, a man named Socrates was famous for proclaiming, "I know, only that I know nothing." What does that even mean, right? Because when you first hear it, it kind of sounds like nonsense. I know only that I know nothing. Well, Socrates arrived at the conclusion that most people back then just weren't very smart, and he alone was smarter than everyone else because he knew this one fact of life, that he knew nothing. But Socrates lived 2,000 years ago. What does he know of the modern man? Things have changed so much since then. Let's instead look at a more contemporary example. Let's look at someone who despised Socrates, and yet in this one example, they still agreed. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche talks about our need for certainty. Quote, "This will to truth, which is to tempt us to many a hazardous enterprise. What questions has this will not laid before us? What strange, perplexing, questionable questions? We inquired about the value of this will. Granted that we want the truth, why not rather untruth and uncertainty, even ignorance? When we try to understand something and fail, we so often give up and turn to despair. But between total understanding and hopelessness, there lies a balance that we must achieve. So often, I would come back from school feeling dejected because I didn't understand a particular lesson. I felt like I wasn't smart enough, or that I just hadn't spent enough time studying. I wasted so much time trying to understand things that I couldn't, only to come back at a later time, and these things, they were like second nature to me. Do not waste time striving for something that you cannot achieve, because time is the one thing you cannot get back. Now, I'm in my last year of high school, and I have no idea what my life will be like this time next year, or what I may be like this time next year, which college I will go to, if I'll keep any of my friends, or in which country I will live. If you put me in a room with me from a few years ago, we probably wouldn't get along very well, and that's something that I'm actually really proud of. I'm naturally scared of what will happen, but uncertainty is no longer the thorn in my side that it once was. I know what I am now, or at least I think I do, but who knows what I may be, what I could be. Isn't that so beautiful? We don't know what we are, we don't know what we may be, but it's exactly this which allows us to be anything and everything. Thank you.
What is that one question that you have that you would just give the whole world to be able to answer?
one question that I'd give the whole world to be able to answer. Well, the cliche one would probably be divinity, right? Because that gives so much meaning to life. You know, you wonder if your whole life is dictated by laws of morality that are dictated to you by religion. Is that even real? I don't know. Finding that out would change our perception over the whole world. Something more complex, something more personal would be, what am I meant for? That's what I would want to know. Because I think to live your life truly is just to do what you are meant to do. And a lot of people don't have the luck, the privilege to find that out in their lifetime. Even if I don't live a life of riches, even if I'm not happy the whole way through, which I guarantee I won't be, if I know what I'm meant for, then I feel like it'll be worth it. Any other questions? Yeah.
But with what you know now,
Yeah.
what would seem like a good direction for you? So if you talk to, let's say, yourself from 10 years
in the future
is talking to you right now. What is he saying? What good decisions has he taken?
Okay. Well, first of all, he'd probably tell me not to worry so much, which is probably what I tell myself from 10 years in the past as well, because it's really not that deep. And I'd ask him if he went ahead with mathematics, even though he wasn't that passionate about it, and he wanted to study arts. I'd tell him if he did end up studying arts. I think he'd be something that I would never expect in 1,000 years, because 10 years from now, I'll be 28. And 28 to me is still a child, right? If I live to be 70, I'm not even halfway through by 28. What does he know? What do I know? I'd probably have to ask myself in 30 years to actually get a concrete answer on who I am.
I'm so happy to see you lot. My name is Joseph, and I want to talk to you about this subject that I care deeply about, hope. Today, I really want to talk about this subject that has held me through the years, something that has made me feel cradled every time I needed it, something that I can always fall back on and feel safe, something that is my hideaway, hope. You see, we've all been asked to write a speech around this theme from Shakespeare's Hamlet, and it reads as follows. We know what we are, but not what we may be. This refers to the hardships. In my opinion, it refers to the crushing, when grapes go through the hardest time to become the wine. This is when all hell is breaking loose over your life. This is when everything is going wrong and you don't know where to run. This is when we simply forget how to hope, how to look towards tomorrow, disregarding the past, disregarding the problems of today. Shakespeare keeps his classic calm. He talks to us and he says, amidst disjointed thoughts, amidst incoherent songs, between your feelings, take a moment to reflect in silence. We know what we are, but not what we may be. You see, I look around the room, and beyond the fact that you are also different assortments, different probably nationalities, different kinds of beauty, but all of them beautiful. I see often deeply troubled people. None of us are openly willing to admit that we are, but we go through anxiety episodes, we go through pain, we go through suffering when people walk out on you, when people leave you, when you've experienced the loss of someone dear to you. You might know what I'm talking about. These are the experiences that none of us are spared. We all go through this experience because this is what life has in store for us. And in the words of Freddie Mercury, this world has only one sweet moment set aside for us. And I don't want to die. I refuse to die not having met my purpose, not having looked towards tomorrow more hopeful, more optimistic, because we know what we are means our circumstances, the way our heart breaks, the way our past aches, already so strongly dictate daily every trivial decision we make, who we choose to love or hate, who we choose to leave, and who stays in our life. But aren't we so often so prone to resigning our fate, our destiny, into the hands of hopelessness? And why is that? See, I want to talk to you about hope because it's a touchy subject, because it refers to the hardships of your life, when everything's going worse, and like I've said, when all hell is breaking loose. It is a touchy subject, but I wish someone had told me, you need to keep hoping, when I needed it. You see, we know what we are, but not what we may be, is a call to hope. In its substratum, though, talking to us about the crushing, how necessary it is for us to trust the winemaker. Even though he's putting us through the crushing, we are going to become wine. And wine lasts for years. Grapes go stale very quickly, but wine is served at the highest tables. And for us to reach our purpose, we need to undress ourselves from the weight of expectation, the weight of what we had in mind, because the death of what we had in mind is the root, the place which regret grows from. And once we've undressed ourselves from what we had in mind, that's when we are free, but we are also vulnerable. What I call you today to do is undress yourself, like I were to undress myself from this jacket. You become vulnerable, you become prone to frostbite or to the heat of day, but you need to go through the crushing to become wine. And so when you start hoping, it's not like hoping is a thing or hope is a thing, it's more like a state of your heart, much like love or feeling blessed or feeling gratitude towards something. I feel so grateful for my parents, but my gratitude is not a thing, it's a feeling. It's a state of my heart. And that's what hope is as well. Hope will not change our lives. Hope will just inspire us for the future. And so when you start hoping, you get your smile back. It is cold because you've undressed yourself, remember? But you stand a little bit taller. You look to where the sun rises and when the sun sets, and it doesn't disturb you because that's a way of life. You go through the crushing, but you trust the winemaker. And that's when what was the graveyard, the place that what you had in mind died, it's now not a cemetery anymore, but it's more so the birthplace of your destiny. Thank you.
Would someone like to address the question? Oh, I see there, right there.
Yeah. How has your personal experience influenced your perspective on hope and the rest of the speech?
It's my personal experience has inspired the whole speech. I mean, as I've said in the speech, I'm telling you now what I wish someone would have told me when I needed it. And so, while going through the crushing myself, I have learned to trust the winemaker and trust that even though I feel buried, I'm actually planted, and so I will rise again. And so, my speech to you today is not a motivational one. It's not about the environment or renewable energy or Nietzsche, because I don't feel adequate to talk about that. I don't feel fit to talk about that. But I know what I've been through, and my personal experience makes me feel like I'm fit to tell you that if you don't stop hoping, you're never gonna stop.
You talk about how everyone experiences pain, loss, and anxiety. How do you think those struggles help shape who we may be, not just who we are?
So yeah, we go through certain stuff in our lives because that's the way of life. I mean, right now we are young and death doesn't feel like something very imminent, but as you come of age, as you get older, it doesn't come to your house, but death suddenly appears on your street and slowly comes to your life and to your house, knocking at your door, expecting to see you or some of your family members. And so it's so important for us. It's imperative for us to look at what's going wrong in our lives and use that as the purpose, as the motivation that we need to become who we were always meant to become. In Orthodoxy, they say that every child is born with a loaf of bread on their chest. And so to take that loaf of bread and make your life, the loaf of bread refers to your gifts, your calling, to make that fruit in your life and to become a good plant from the seed. You need to look at your past, your heartbreaks, and everything that's going wrong, and make it a tool to shape your future.
What advice would you give to a person that is undergoing a lot of hardship and cannot find the power in them to feel hopeful anymore?
That's the characteristic of going through hardship. You don't feel like you want to hope because you kind of forget hope. I wanted to say this, like hope is like an old friend. And when you start neglecting her, she leaves. And hopelessness is not a thing either. It's just the absence of hope. So if you don't neglect her, if you find the power and the strength in yourself to remember the times in the past that you've hoped, you'll find the strength to move forward. So remember. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Iulia, and the title of my speech is 18. 18 seconds. You take your first deep breath. You don't know it, but this is the moment when it all begins. 18 minutes. Now you have a name, one you will hear every day for the rest of your life. 18 days, 18 weeks. People look at you and smile. They make strange faces at you, and they hold you tight when you cry. You're loved, but you don't know it yet. After 18 months, you're mumbling your first words. Everyone cheers and laughs at your innocence and gullibility. But after 18 years, you must know everything. What do you want to be is the lingering question that kept me up at night for the longest time. Because how should I know? When was I ever given this choice before? And more importantly, when did it ever matter? How can I choose right now how I would like to spend the rest of my life when I don't even know how to pay the bills, cook, or take proper care of myself? And am I supposed to move out to a new city, maybe a new country, when I don't know anything about living on my own? What do you mean I'm no longer a kid and everything will change and everyone will change too? Raise your hands if you've asked yourself any of these questions. Okay, then I'll add you to the list. And it's a pretty long one already. But where is this coming from? Well, Sylvia Plath wrote something in her journal that reminded me of this exact feeling. She said, "What is my life for and what am I going to do with it? I don't know and I'm afraid. I can never read all the books I want. I can never be all the people I want and live all the lives I want. I can never train myself in all the skills I want, and why do I want? I want to live and feel all the shades, tones, and variations of human experience possible in my life. And I'm horribly limited." On the 11th of February, 1963, Sylvia Plath takes her own life. It's strange to see how badly she wanted to live and how she ended up dying. And it makes me wonder if this hunger for knowledge, these high expectations of life, weren't just the thing that killed her. When you know so much of what's out there, and yet you're aware of the fact that you can never reach it all, then your life seems kind of pointless. But despite her belief, her life was far from meaningless. She thought and felt so deeply, wrote so beautifully. She was brilliant. And do you want to know what age she was when she wrote the quote I was referencing earlier? 18 years old. But how could she have thought so deeply at just 18 years old when everybody knows that when you're young, you don't know anything? When you're young, you have no right to complain. And if you do, you're too emotional, too sensitive. Stress, anxiety. At 18, they all ask, shocked and laughing at our faces. But I wonder, don't they remember what it felt like? Waking up into this world one day, and it seems as if the next day you need to make something out of it. And no one ever taught you how. No one ever taught you why. And it's not that we don't know anything. It's that we know so much, it drives us insane. We know we're responsible for our own future. So much that we start questioning every single decision. And we know too much about the world that feels so big and full of opportunities, but at the same time, so lonely and hopeless. With information coming our way from every possible direction, How could we not know? We know, we think, we feel, we have strong opinions and values. We love, even though sometimes we're too afraid to say it, too afraid of what it actually means. We know who we are, even though sometimes we hide it. We know who we are, but we don't know who we may be, as Shakespeare once said. But does knowing who we are even matter if we don't share it with the world? Because we can't live our lives inside of our heads. Every word needs to be spoken. Every question should be asked. We need to stop turning every thought upside down until we finally spit it out, because that one thought could make a difference. And even when we're all so different, we're all afraid sometimes. We're all ricocheting between certainties and doubts. We're all forced to make a decision at one point in our lives, and we're all terrified of getting it wrong. But it's easier if we speak, if we let it out, if we stop putting things off and start taking action, taking risks, even though it could lead to failure. Circling back to Sylvia Plath, she wrote, "Perhaps that's why I want to be everyone. So no one can blame me for being I. But let me ask you this, would you rather blame yourself for who you become, or spend your whole life wondering?" Thank you.
So in what nook or corner of our lives can we actually find certainty, or at least be comforted by a sense of certainty?
So in what corners in our lives could we find certainty?
Yeah, in what areas? Maybe it's a person or...
That's a really interesting question. I think that we can find bits of certainty in every aspect and every corner of our lives if we search for it. But most of the time, we don't. Most of the time, we focus on the things that are uncertain, on the things that we don't know, and that's why it's hard for us to see that bit of certainty that lies everywhere around us. So I hope I have answered your question.
Okay,
Yes.
we have someone else.
Do you think that 18 being the age where everybody expects you to know everything is an encouragement for you to try and progress and learn as much about yourself until you're 18? Or is it more of a stressful situation for people?
Thank you for your question. It's a really good one. I think that we are forced by the age of 18 to figure out our lives. So it's kind of a point in our lives where we do feel stressed out about this, but also it's a point that we expect and that we are excited about. So I think that we prepare our whole lives for that moment. And I think it is stressful, but I also think that it's exciting. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much.
"2007, year of birth. 2013, first day of school. Some tears, but you eventually establish a life-changing friendship. 2018, you find purpose. 2023, you realize that what you stood for was never set in stone. What if your life was laid out in this way, in data from day one? What would you make of all this? Would life even be worth living anymore? One thing we can be certain about is that everything works according to this pattern. Beginning, end, and everything in between. Life, the process of writing this speech, both follow this pattern. Strangely enough, we want to escape it, skip to the next chapter in an attempt to ease the cognitive strain of not knowing. But would we live life the same way if we knew all the answers? In the words of ancient philosopher Marcus Aurelius, all the rest of one's life is either past or it is uncertain. For our world, in which too much emphasis is placed on knowing and too little on daring, on discovering, this quote is unacceptable. It's because we treat certainty as if it were an existential compass, infallible in leading us astray. Recognizing that I will never come to comprehend all the sides that are to me took me a while. In the meantime, I would place labels on myself. Melanie the dancer, Melanie the great public speaker, Hard truth be told, labels are short-lived and ever-changing. Nevertheless, we have more control over this change than we'd like to admit. And it all boils down to two levers of intentional self-discovery. Or at least, that's what I thought. Initially, I thought I wanted to talk about how the environment and how purpose behind decision-making led to your dream self. But then I asked myself, why did the English-speaking union decide on this quote as this year's theme? And then it hit me. This is the time when most of us give up on their dreams. When you're 7, people don't view your dream to become the president of Romania or the president of the United States as unrealistic. When you turn 17, it's a different story. All this time, I was wrong. My story, unreliable. We don't need to educate teenagers on intentional self-discovery, but rather educate them on how to stick to their already formed, brilliantly unrealistic and achievable dreams. Remember when Reverend Martin Luther King uttered, "I have a dream," and his vision came to fruition. Or when Greta Thunberg cried out, "I shouldn't be up here." Yet all of you come to us young people for hope. This is what the English-speaking union wanted to make sure, that we are now one of the 98% of people who die and never reach their potential. Because in this world, we need purpose, not labels, not entitlements, not an enchainment to an envisioned self. Why shouldn't we place so much emphasis on certainty, you may ask? Well, when we deny having no strings attached by saying that educators should think like educators, or that politicians should act like politicians, barriers start setting us apart, and words follow our entitledness. Because when we think we have all the answers, we don't go to others for their input. We always seek to confirm our bias, which is the singular most destructive practice to our personal development and to world peace. Conversely, cooperation stems from admitting that we are not just one thing, that an ideology can divide us into political parties, but not as human beings. We have a plethora of knowers ruling the world, but a scarcity of thinkers who value uncertainty. I knew this young, uncertain girl whose idea of who she may be was not bold enough for what she could really become. At the time, she didn't know that she could deliver decent speeches, or have the courage to travel all the way to San Francisco to pursue her dream of becoming a professional dancer. She would be very sad to hear that she did let it all behind her, finally realizing that she wasn't meant to be just one thing, and that letting go in order to become is not all that scary. If you take anything away from my speech, let it be this. It's not about what you want to be, but about who you want to become. Not knowing who you are makes you more open-minded, more open to change. Because even when you lose everything, you still have a future to hope for. I will say this to the preschoolers I teach during my pedagogical practice, to all of you, and I wish I could even reach Pakistani girls who are denied formal education, or the boys in Gaza returning to their homes, failing to even see a future, to tell them, don't let anyone predict who you may become. Live today like you're already the president or the architect of your dreams. That you is not that far away. We know what we are, but not what we may be. Change isn't something we should be afraid of. Staying the same should. So what if you allowed yourself to live without all the answers? 2025 will be bound to nothing. How did it go again? Beginning, middle, and the end. Please. Yes. Yes.
Thank you for your speech. Aren't you afraid that imagining you already are who you want to be can backfire at some point in your life? And if so, how do you plan to tackle?
Oh no, it backfired multiple times. Even this year, I actually thought of I set about 3 exams thinking about the country that I was about to apply for university. And that plan changed multiple times during my plans and during this journey that I'm on of trying to better myself. But I think it's not about being too concerned about changing your plans. It's not about being too concerned about, okay, what if I fail? What if I take a different turn and this path and this idea that I have of becoming and of, going on a career path that's fit for my own personality type what if it all backfires? It's not about that. It's about asking yourself at the end of the day, okay, this plan backfired, but throughout the journey, have I actually put in the effort, the time, and the energy to be able to say, okay, it backfired, but I can just kind of do like this with the dust on my shoulders and say, I'm ready for a new challenge. It's about the battles that we face and all the different tools that we are equipped with to be able to move on to different challenges, to be able to move on and conquer new goals that we set for ourselves. Thus, it's not about plans that backfire, but about our own projection of who we are and our own motivation to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have someone else? Who would you like to become?
Oh, I absolutely adore working with kids, and I love teaching. I've had the opportunity to teach multiple times, but at the same time, I'm really passionate about international relations. I'm incredibly passionate about crash courses. I'm actually taking my APs this May, and I'm very excited for that. All I can say is I love learning. I don't know who I will become. I think it will be incredibly wrong of me to come here and say, oh, I know who I am, because it's about we know what we are, but not what we may be. I don't know who I am. All I know is that I am a continuous learner. I love learning new things. I'm a dancer as well. I love dancing. I've done modeling for some time. Again, I think that it's not, at the end of the day, it's not about being one thing. It's about being this universal 21st century personality type that this world needs. It's about being an educator, not only in the classroom, but in absolutely every room that you step into. It's about being an advocate for what you do, not only in those high courts, or not only to negotiate different words or have different disputes with other people. It's about being a negotiator in all the different domains and areas of your life. So I will not make any bold statements with regards to who I want to be. All I'm going to say to you right now, really frankly in your face, is that whatever it is that I'll be, I'll always leave some room and some space for that person, for that Melanie that could be. Whether it be Melanie in London or Melanie in the United States, I don't know who that Melanie will be. All I can say that is she is open to new opportunities. Thank you.
I've got a question, but I have to start with an example. Let's take a person, let's call them X, and say this X chooses to enter a competition, and X manages to win it. Do you think that they would feel the same amount of, how to put it, do you think they would be as happy in winning this competition if they had 100 other contestants, or if they were alone in the competition?
Oh, well, I'm a professional dancer. I know what it's like to go up against 50 other contestants versus going up against 3 other contestants. This is also incredibly psychological. If you think about it, if there's competition in the room, you're going to have this incentive to be better, to strive to bring your best self and version of yourself forward. So, of course, it's common sense that if I'm in a room with dreamers and with high achievers, I, as an individual, will be more motivated to be a better person. But right now, it's also about fighting this battle against yourself. When you're practicing your speech in front of the mirror, because if we are to talk about a contest, let's just talk about our public speaking contest. When you're talking in front of that mirror, ultimately the person that you're going up against is yourself. There's no one else that is going to beat you harder at your own game. There's no one else that's going to have the potential to rise, but at the same time drop you to the lowest of lows in those really dark days. It's not about 50 contestants, 100 contestants. It's about being you versus you at the end of the day. Thank you.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that I, a simple teenager, would be here right now, in 2025 after traveling here by plane with a mobile telephone in my pocket, presenting a speech to you all in a huge auditorium in an international high school in a city that hosts over 1 million people. Dear audience, esteemed judges, think of humans tens of thousands of years ago. If you were to bring one of them into today's world, he wouldn't even be able to fathom the fact that we are not actively hunting in order to eat, or that our bodies are wrapped in this strange pieces of fabric called clothes. As humans have come so far, and there's so much evidence of change and evolution, and yet we still cannot comprehend our true potential. So why is it, I ask you, that some of us aren't interested in achieving as much as we are able to? Well, while gathering information on this very topic, I've stumbled upon a very different man. His name is Howard Schultz. Born in 1953 in New York, Schultz was raised in a working-class family with a father that worked various blue-collar jobs, but still couldn't provide for the family because he was often underpaid or even left unemployed. This created a spark that flamed this boy's determination to escape poverty and ascend the social ladder. His life story seems so magnificent to me because, remember, this all happened in the 1950s and 60s, where most of society seemed to be quite fine with the mediocre lives. Linear existences and good ones, as everyone was still quite fearful of the unknown. Someone with the upbringing Schultz had wouldn't even think about going to university, let alone embrace the risk of opening a company, as he did both these things. But he stood out. He was different. At a time where nobody was willing to rise above their circumstances, Schultz took a risk, and he went through with it. Howard Schultz is now the proud owner of the somewhat successful coffee chain. I think we all know it. It's called Starbucks. This willpower of his is exactly what made him to be one of the most successful men across the globe later on in life. Because instead of holding on to the past, he uses unfortunate events as motivation for bettering himself. As the great Abraham Lincoln puts it, the best way to predict the future is to create it. None of us are inherently incapable of success. Rather, it is often comfort and complacency that prevent us from striving for more. There is no fate when referring to our social condition. There is only hard work and perseverance. Upon realizing this journey of life becomes more of a challenge, propelling the individual to want more from it. Motivating oneself has a snowball effect, and actually a very beneficial one, leading to prosperity and fulfillment. Because, you see, once meeting a goal, you'll always find yourself yearning for another, and another, and then another, and so on. In conclusion, the story of human life is one of resilience, curiosity, and an unyielding drive to improve. From the simple act of creating tools to the complex systems of technology we have today, our abilities to adapt and innovate have been the cornerstone of our success. However, the true magic lies within our individual potential. Deep down into our souls, we know there's no such thing as being incapable, but more often than not, we're just too comfortable to try. People like Howard Schultz show us that our circumstances do not define us, but our determination does. So, dear audience, I leave you with this. Do not settle for what is handed to you. Instead, rise above, challenge yourself, and embrace the opportunities to change not only your future, but the future of humanity. For as Shakespeare reminds us, we know what we are, but not what we may be. Let's dare to discover what we truly can become. Thank you. Yes, please.
So you've mentioned our species' failure to be able to comprehend our full potential.
Yes.
Do you think that in the instance that we're actually able to tap in this full potential and have an answer to this question that we were trying so hard to answer, everyone in the room, do you think that we'll be better off as a species? Or will you be better off? Will you be happier if we knew the answer of what your fullest potential will be?
Thank you very much for your question. That's a very interesting one. Well, short answer, no. I don't want everyone to know everything because then we as humans wouldn't be special anymore. Like, what's the beauty of life is we know what's going to happen tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now on. So I wouldn't want to know what's going to be in the future, and it would be catastrophic for all humans to know what was going to happen, because then that wouldn't be life anymore, would it? It would be just a robot show with no human experience and no human life. Anybody else?
Can you tell us, please, a bit about a mini Schultz moment from your experience?
Sorry?
Can you relate to us a mini Schultz, a mini moment, yeah?
A mini moment, yes.
A mini moment, yeah, Schultz-like, from your life?
Yes, thank you very much. And I always love this question because when I was a kid, it's not that I was poor or I didn't have any money, but I hated, and I mean hated, asking money from my parents. So I never really had pocket money. That wouldn't be something they would do. And I would have something my cousins gave me. I would have money for my birthday, and that was my only income because I was a kid. So it was a bit hard seeing my friends buying food every day and having all this pocket money, having iPhones, Jordans, and all these things that I would want. So I used that, and now I started working. I work since the age of 15. I'm a hairdresser, I'm a DJ, and I try to make, I try to do anything, as much things as possible to better myself and try to provide for myself. Anybody else? One more?
Okay, so I guess that concludes the questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Also, that concludes our last speaker for today. Thank you very much. Okay, well done to everybody. We are going to have a break for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna steal the adjudicators away, and we'll meet back here in about 20 minutes or so. Okay, see you in a bit.
We have some words of wisdom for our adjudicators, so we're gonna get feedback and
If you're a teacher and you work for 5 days, you arrive at Saturday, having already had a busy week, I can guarantee that there's not much wisdom left. So, sorry, the wisdom is not of the higher order. Okay. Should I have the mic? Is it better with the mic? We'll go technology on this one. Okay, so I think I start as I started before, just by thanking everyone. It was an incredible privilege to be here. I wasn't lucky enough to be able to be on the judging panel last year, and I really feel the progression from 2 years ago to this year. I mean, the standard this year was incredibly high, and it's very, very hard, I think, to differentiate between first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I think that there are many students today who are deserving of first place. So that's the first thing I would say. Secondly, I'd like to congratulate whoever it is who's been working with you, your coaches, your teachers, whoever has inspired you to get involved in this competition, who's helped you to write your speech and supported you through that process. given you valuable feedback. It's clearly made a difference. So congratulations to those supporting people behind the scenes. And your parents as well. Some of you have traveled a long way to get here, and clearly those parents are incredibly supportive of you and your dreams and aspirations. I'd like to thank, as I always do, Alla. She's the steadfast force behind this competition, behind this, and it's not just the competition, it's actually the practice of developing public speaking. You know, she's been involved in this for as long as I've known her, which is at least 15 years, maybe more. And I think, I gather it's probably even a little bit further before then as well. So, yeah, that's amazing. Thank you to Alan. And thank you to the judges, my co-adjudicators. And it's a nice story as well. I've known Emmy through debate for as many years almost as I've known Alan. I knew him many years ago when he was passionate about Ardor, and I was passionate about an international European debate competition that I was running. And we've kept contact through the years. And as is always the case with these sorts of events, I'm really pleased to have made a new friend. And I hope the same is for you, that you've come here today to compete, and I sincerely hope you've gone away with a few numbers of other people that you've met along the way, because I've always found with my students, it's one of the most valuable aspects of these sorts of events. They go away to a debate competition, and then later in life, when they're at university, they realize that so many of the students that they debated against in their high school years ended up going to those really prestigious, highly ranked universities. So it brings people together with commonality. Okay, with that said, feedback, very briefly. I think what we're looking at here is the art of rhetoric. And the person who actually wrote the first book on the art of rhetoric was Aristotle. And he broke rhetoric down into 3 areas. He said ethos. Anyone here know what ethos is about? What is ethos? No one wants to hazard a guess what ethos is. Ethos is you standing there and somehow developing a sense of persona and credibility. So we look at you and we believe the words that you say. And there are so many ways. It's from the moment you enter onto the stage, it's the way you're dressed. It's the way that you use your body language, that you show that you're nervous. Sometimes that's an endearing quality. Or are you extremely confident and comfortable with being on stage? And then it's the words you use. Are you articulate? And then those words that you're using, like Shakespeare and Macbeth, you're weaving a spell, and that's your logos. That's your logic. And we were looking at your logic from the moment you started and threaded some theme all the way through your speech from the start to the finish. And I think that's important. But last week, I was at the finals of the World Debating Competitions at Oxford University. And I got to see the best debaters in the world there. And it was an incredible experience. And the student who won, they won that debate. They were from Singapore because they had an incredible sense of pathos. And the words that they wove into that spell of logos and the credibility that they brought with themselves, it was polished off. It was like, it was the cutting of the diamond to make the gem. And there was a point, the final was at 9 o'clock at night, or maybe at 7 o'clock at night, we finished at 9 o'clock at night. Everyone was tired. We'd been through 6 rounds of debating. Everyone was exhausted. And those finalists, I had no idea how they had the energy. But halfway through the speaker, I woke up. And my eyes were just open wide. And it was like drinking, the strongest percolated coffee you could ever imagine. And it was a real wow factor. And today we saw some aspects of that wow factor. We saw the ethos. Not everyone had it as strongly as everyone else, but 3 or 4 of you had it definitely imbued within your persona. And there was a real sense of logos for some of you. You started with an idea, and like an extended metaphor, you developed it. And then there was this real satisfying finish, the last word or the last sentence you said, that kind of looped back to something you said at the start. There was a real sense of Emil enjoyed in that experience. And then some of you had the magic of pathos. I think everyone who we had in the top 5, there was this delineating line. We had the top 5 and those who were not in the top 5. And those who were in the top 5, we grouped you all together, having those strong aspects. So my advice to you in thinking about next year is take it back to the basics. How do I develop my sense of persona to be credible? And I think, listening to Claudia and Emmy, they talk about that, their sense of voice, the sincerity, the ones that are in the top 5. We felt somehow that you were yourself more than the other 5, that you had your own sense of voice. And that logic. A couple of you, we got a bit lost on the logic as we were going through the debate, but some of you, you were there all the time, reminding us of that theme going all the way through. And some of you, at moments, you elevated us to the point that we were with you and time had stopped. That's what we were looking for. So thank you so much. It was an incredible experience. I wish we could give out 10 firsts today. But unfortunately, we hand the floor over to Ella, who will now announce the start off in reverse order with 10 and end up at first. So just out of interest, who here is graduating this year? We won't see you again. 1, 2, wow. Okay, well, I wish you the best. Whichever university has you on their books, they're going to be very lucky to have you as a student. And the rest of you, there's room for improvement. So hopefully we'll see you back next year. Thank you.
Just so you know, this competition is open until the age of 20. So you have to turn 21 the day after the finals in London. We do have university students. It's typically alumni. So guys, people like you that want to come back after they go to university. So just so you know, you do have the option. Otherwise, you can come as alumni, just like we have Andreea and Mare over here that have been coming for the past 2 years. I have their email addresses, so whether they want or not, I'm hunting them down. Okay, so just to check with our photographer, is it better for photos to be on stage or should we be down here? Doesn't matter? Okay, if we take a group photo? It's okay there? Okay, right. So then I'm going to invite Sorin from Fisher. He's going to help out with the prizes. We're actually not going to be on stage, so I'm going to invite the girls back, our 2 volunteers to help. Okay. Yes, the girls will help you out.
Lovely, thank you.
Right, so we are going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with the certificates of participation. Please keep in mind that the certificates of participation are in no particular order. The only order, which actually is an order, are the honorable mention, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. The certificates of participation, no, yeah? So just to keep in mind. Okay, so we're going to start out with the first certificate of participation, again, in random order, which goes to Iulia Pascuta.
Thank you.
I think, yeah, here is like a little photo. So, yeah, if you want to join us on stage, it would be very nice. Thank you so much. We also have a certificate of participation and a lovely gift from Fisher for Miss Andreea Radu. Congratulations. Well done. We also have a certificate of participation and a gift for Mr. Denis Surcică. Congratulations. Thank you. And
Yes.
thank you very much. Okay, we have a certificate of participation for Petru Stepanov. Rest. Okay, we have a certificate of participation for Augustin, Preda-Mușat. We have a certificate of participation for Iulia. Okay. We have honorable mention for Matei Farkas. Okay. We have third prize for Melania Balit. Congratulations. And this, wow. Yes. Second prize goes to Maria Ilinca Oprea. And first prize goes to Maria Schipor. Congrats. Okay. We would also like to announce that we have another award, which is the Fly High Camp Scholarship Award, and I'm going to invite Claudia to announce that.
First of all, I want to congratulate all of you. You are awesome, and please keep believing in yourselves. You are going to make a big difference in the world and in everybody's lives. Yeah, I never got a prize in my life, and I'm still very fulfilled with what I do. So it was really hard for me to make a decision who to give the scholarship to. So I'm talking about 2 weeks in the UK for a summer school worth £2,000. And because I do believe in opportunities, I decided to give this to the runner-up. So, Maria, you're going to I thought, Maria, you'd be great and you're going to London anyways. So, here you are. You never know where, yeah? So, this is our prize for you. I hope you enjoy it. If you still want to experience something, we will gladly give you a discount. So do call me and we'll arrange for you to go to the UK as well. Okay, and congratulations once again.
Okay, so I would suggest just putting your certificates down for a second so we could do a group photo. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you so much for today. And hope to see some of you next year. Great weekend.